For me, the fastest way to get hooked up to an implement that I can't really rock by hand, like this blade here, is to back up to the implement. And I use the adjustments back here in the telescoping arms to get the right width that I need. It's easy as that, and then I'm going to jump on the tractor, back up, and lift up. Putting these in the lower position will lock the balls in when they're attached. Then to let go of the implement, just lock these back up. So if you've ever fought with an implement for a half an hour to get it hooked up and then given yourself a hernia, you realize pretty quickly that a quick hitch might be a good investment for your compact tractor. So today I want to talk a little bit about what I've learned with different styles of quick hitches, and then finally something a little bit different that I did here on my standard L3301 Kubota. If you think about quick hitches, there's really two broad categories. There's the single piece quick hitches like this one in the back, and then there's hook styles like this right here on this tractor. When it comes to the single piece hookups, there's a lot of different manufacturers out there. That particular one was from Harbor Freight. It's where a lot of us start, because really with a coupon, you can get that thing for less than $100 and bring it home. There's some nicer ones out there by Land Pride and some others that are going to be over $200. But really, because of their availability and just the way it looks, most of us start right there thinking that you've got a great solution to your problem. But if you're like me and you try to get a bargain on an implement by going on the used market, you realize pretty quickly if you have a bunch of non-standardized implements, a one-piece quick hitch like that really doesn't have a ton of utility for you. I remember when I brought that thing home, really I only had one, maybe two implements that it would work well on for me. Another thing to keep in mind with that style of quick hitch is you're going to have clearance issues trying to get into the PTO shaft of your tractor. You just got to fight around that big box tube. You may be able to bring that quick hitch home for less than $100, but you're also going to have to get these bushings, at least if you have that hook style. You're probably going to need to get a top link adapter like this. So all of a sudden, you've got to add another $30 to $50 just to hook up one implement to that style of quick hitch. I know they have a lot of great utility in the sense that if you have a matched quick hitch to matched implements, there's really no faster way to hook up to a Land Pride implement if you have a Land Pride quick hitch. There's really nothing wrong with them. Just understand that they're maybe not as cheap as they seem at the front end, and you got to make sure that all of your implements are compatible with them. So since most of us don't all have exactly the same manufacturer of implement, or you have older implements before the standards were really kept up, you consider hooks. And at least in the compact tractor forum world, the most common type of hook that you see on the end of 3-point arms is the Pat's Easy Change. There's another outfit called Carter's that makes one that's slightly different. But essentially the Pat system is, if you have this ball end on the end of your tractor here, it's a hook that just goes onto the end of your 3-point arm like this. You snug it down with some bolts and it adds a hook to the end of your 3-point arm. I'm not knocking the Pat system. I was very close to buying one myself. A lot of guys on YouTube have some great videos about how happy they are with the Pat system. But a couple things kind of bugged me about the Pat system. The first and biggest thing was that if you read the reviews, sometimes keeping that hook snug on the end of your 3-point arm so it doesn't bang around can be kind of tight, or can be kind of a problem. Guys have to switch the standard bolts to grade 8, really torque them down. And even then, I did read some reviews that guys said if they were doing a lot of tillage work or heavy work with category 2 style implements, those bolt-on hooks weren't really working for them. The other thing that kind of bugged me a little bit about the Pat's Easy Change hooks, and it's a problem that you also get with the single piece quick hitches like that, is that they add anywhere between 4 and 5 inches to the end of your 3-point arm. So I got on the Pat's Easy Change website and I saw that they have weld-on hooks. And that made me think, well, gee, I'm a crop consultant and I see a lot of bigger tractors out there that have these standard hooks come right on the 3-point arms like that. It's a system that very commonly you see in Europe. In fact, if you farm in Great Britain, you're probably like, why is this dude making this video? Because everybody uses hooks like this. But at least here in North America, this style of hook is pretty uncommon. Well, I guess unless you look at Oliver's from the 60s and the old Case Eagle hitches. There's really nothing new about these hooks, but for some reason lately they've been out of favor. So since I have a welder, and it appealed to me, this system where you have a ball that's captive inside this socket, so there's no play, no matter where this 3-point arm is positioned like this, or you have one arm up or down to crown a driveway or something like that, there's no banging around between the pin and the hook because this ball is in here and it's always captive inside this socket. So it's just like the ball inside the regular 3-point end, except it's able to pop out on the top. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try to put one of these Euro style hooks on my tractor. I was able to find them online. I'll talk about that a little later in the video. To give you a point of reference on pros and cons and price points, this particular hook was $312 list. I was able to get it 15% off on a Black Friday sale. But this is probably the most expensive way to add a quick hitch to your tractor. But because it's so stout, it's probably my favorite, and I wish that there were more options to put this on a tractor in North America. Again, if you're in Europe, you could probably almost buy this tractor stock with like hooks like this from the factory, but here in America that doesn't seem to be the case. It's not completely universal in the sense that if you have something around your 3-point pin on your implement, you got to make sure you have clearance for the hook. I have one implement where there's a bar right here on my brush hog actually that I'm going to have to move where that bar is a little bit so that this top of the hook doesn't impact it as I'm moving around with that brush hog. All my other implements were clear and free, and it makes hooking up a breeze because you can use the tractor itself to position the implement and get it where it needs to be, and the balls just snap right into these hooks. One of the things to mention is you do add a little bit of extra length with these hooks, at least on the standard L Kubota. The bend in the 3-point arm dictates where you have to cut it. You add about 2.5 extra inches compared to where the old ball end was. On a larger category 2 tractor or maybe some other compact tractors, you may not have to add any length depending on where you can cut the arm at. And just like with the one-piece quick hitch, you still need to add balls or bushings here. And these category 2-1 balls, you can get a set of these for $6 probably at Tractor Supply or Rural King. Same with a regular category 2 ball. This flange style is a little more expensive, like what's on the spinner spreader over here. A set of these from the same place I got the hook set was I think $14 or so. So it's still there. It's a little bit cheaper than what you get with the standard one piece that needs these great big bushings like this. And these balls seem to me at least to be a little more commonly available. So let's talk about the kit I got and put it on the tractor.
So let's talk about the kit that I ordered that has these lower link hooks in them. I probably looked and thought about buying a set of these hooks for at least 6 months or so before I finally pulled the trigger. This particular kit is the 88051 kit. I got it from agrostoreusa.com. Really the only place in North America that I could find that would sell you a set of these hooks. eBay, I found out that I could get them imported from a seller in Britain. Didn't really want to do that. It was going to be a little bit more expensive. I even went to my local Massey dealer. They're an Agco dealer. Just from goofing off online, I could tell that, you could order a 50, 75 horsepower Massey Ferguson tractor in Great Britain, and it would come with this style hook. So I went to the dealer and said, I'm interested in putting these hooks on there. They're also a Fendt dealer. All the Fendts come standard with this style hooks, but they're category 3 style tractors. So the dealer knew what it was that I wanted. He could get them for me from Massey Ferguson if he pretended that he was an international dealer, and it looked like he thought he could do that, but the price point to get it straight from Agco was outrageous, so we didn't do that. Finally saw that AgriStore USA had a Black Friday sale on, 15% off, bam, pulled the trigger, and got this category 2/1 hook kit. They don't sell a strict category 1 set. It's either 2-1 or a full 2. And then you can also see that they have the category 3-2 there for the bigger size tractors. That kind of scared me a little bit, but looking at the dimensions, it seems like really the only difference between the category full 2 and this category 2/1 is the hook itself is a little narrower, so that it lines up with the width of this 2/1 ball. So it's not quite as wide, and the length of the hook is just a little more narrow on this 2/1 kit. It seems like looking for these style balls, this diameter ball is much more common. Like you can find this style ball at Rural King, Tractor Supply, whatever, that has the same width as the full Category 2 ball, but it's neck down for Category 1 pins. So this is way easier to find than most of the other size balls that you'd have to use for a strict Category 1 style hook that AgriStore doesn't even sell, and it's just not that common. And the other thing I'd say too is these balls, you can get these much more locally common, you know, compared to the bushing kits that you'd have to use on like your Harbor Freight Quick Connect. You can kind of tell that AMA is a foreign company. They're out of Italy. They call it the inferior hook kit, which says to me they're not used to marketing things in North America. In this case, I think inferior refers to the fact that this is their economy hook kit. They sell 1, 2 in their catalog that is more expensive, goes up to a larger category size. So I think it's just, you know, just a heavier duty hook kit that goes up to larger sizes. AMA, they sell PTOs, aftermarket, you know, Hitch stuff for 3 points. It seems to me like they're sort of the Spico of Italy, and AgriStore USA just imports their stuff. So it's just like when you open your Chinese instructions from Harbor Freight, you get that Chinglish translation. I think in this case, don't let inferior scare you. It's just the Italiish or Anglian translation that doesn't quite line up. Delete inferior and put economy on there, AMA, if you're listening. Inside the kit, you get 2 hooks. You get 2 balls that are Category 2 size diameter on the outside, but are pushed down or narrowed down to Category 1 pins. 2 balls that are Category 2 outside diameter, Category 2 inside diameter. You get a couple spacers here, so if you have an implement that you need to move the ball on a little bit, you can do that. And you also get 2 of these flanged balls that are for Category 2 size pins. I actually ordered another set of Category 2 flanged balls. To do it over again, I realized that you could buy just the flanges separately, and I probably would go that route. I did notice that the extra flange balls I ordered from AMA were a little heavier duty than the ones that came standard with this kit, but I think these will be fine for... And I have a couple of implements I want to put these on. My weight box is one. I'll probably put that one on these. You also get a spring, assuming this is... You don't get instructions in this, so I'm just assuming here. This is probably to put some tension between your lower link arms to keep them together so that when you adjust it for width, you don't have to worry about it. You can line right up to the whatever implement you're going to. I probably won't use these on account of the fact that I have the telescoping style lower link adjustments on my tractor that use pins instead of the turnbuckles. So adjusting mine's not a big deal, and they tend to stay at the right width because they're mounted with pins. And then you also get this chain. I believe what the chain's for is you hook one end on the ring on the hook, take the other end up with you to the operator station or the cab of the tractor so that when you pull on this ring, this little hook or this little lever here depresses and you can drop the 3-point lower link arms without having to get off the tractor and pull this ring up manually so that this ring will, or this lever will depress here. Overall, looks like a really nice quality kit, and let's get her on the tractor. So our first step here is to take these lower link arms off this tractor so we can take them in the shop, cut the old ball ends off, weld up our new hook ends. You may have noticed that this tractor doesn't have the traditional turnbuckle side link adjustments. I've changed it over to the Kubota pin kit here. For those guys that are switching over to this kit, it makes adjustment a lot easier, but it is designed for the R1 tire. If your tractor has R4 tires on a standard L like this one, one thing I did is instead of putting a rolled over pin at the bottom, I just put this little circular key in here so that I can pull this pin out real easy, flop this over. If I need to pull my arm out, I got a couple extra inches of clearance to get over the pins on my implement. That also helps us today unhook the side link here adjustments that much faster off these lower link arms. To take the lower link arms off at the tractor, you can see this pin's already halfway worked out here. There's a bolt that holds it into the casing of the tractor. Turn that out. Unfortunately, this pin here is in a blind hole, so you can't beat on it from the left there. I found the easiest way to get on it was just put a wrench or something, or a pair of pliers rather, on this, turn it, and gradually work it out. Something that you can squeeze on there and get a little force to it will help make it a little easier. Probably a good idea to go ahead and soak it down the night before too. So I got my 2 hooks welded up here. Gotta say, for a guy like me, it didn't turn out too terrible. You know what the difference between a farmer and a welder is? Yeah, a welder doesn't pretend he can farm, but in that spirit, I'm glad I went ahead and did it myself. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. If you do this yourself, I think you'll find that the most difficult part of the job is actually just holding the work in such a way that you don't need a third hand to hold everything together to tack it and weld it. It turns out that this El Cheapo Harbor Freight bench press vise is exactly the right height to get that 3-point arm up off the table so that the bottom of the hook can still touch the table and everything's at the right height. And then you want to really make sure that these hooks are parallel to the center line of the tractor. And the reason for that is the hooks move in and out with wider or narrower implements. You want to make sure nothing binds. And the great thing about these hooks is the way the balls sit in there, there's no slop or banging around, and you still have a little bit of movement with the balls inside the socket. But at the same time, if you were to get that 3-point arm cocked one way or the other, you may not get as much range of motion out of them if you had a really narrow or wide implement, or you really had one arm much higher or lower than the other. Let's say you're crowning in a ditch or something like that. So what I did was made sure that the left end of the hook was perpendicular to the side of the table there. Came over here on the right side of the table, did the same thing with a square. Just double and triple check everything to make sure that it's in line, and then tacked it and welded up. I'm not a welder, so I don't think you should be getting welding advice from me. And again, there's no shame in hiring somebody to do this. If you've got a small hobby farm or even a big farm, you either need to know how to weld yourself or know somebody who you can. So there's guaranteed to be guys in your neighborhood that would love to do a little bit of quick welding for you if this is above your pay grade. Slip them some cash, find out who they are. It's just like having a good contractor or a good plumber. You want to know who you can rely on in your neighborhood for quick jobs like this if it isn't for you. So granted, this is a little bit of a cost addition compared to some other quick hitch systems, but don't let it keep you away from trying it if you think this is a good method for you.